Most recently, in talking about COVID-19 response, states were provided with grant funding, about $400 million in March. And so one of our main goals over the past few months has been to help get that money to states to make sure that they can respond to the pandemic. And when I talk about respond, I really do mean the nuts and bolts of administration to make sure that they have enough hand sanitizer or shields, or even remote access for their election workers to make sure that the elections can run on time. So part of that includes bringing that information back to the EAC so that we can help distribute those best practices to the other election officials, help share that learning. And that's why I talk about the importance of collaboration. Elections are run different ways all across the country, and that's part of the benefit, but also part of the challenge. Jurisdictions vary in size from a couple of hundred voters to millions of voters. And so it's hard to say that one particular solution is going to work the same way for everyone. There are obviously laws that are in place, different resources that are available that would change how a local election official might be able to take a best practice and bring it down to their day-to-day operations. So we've talked about sort of what we've done in COVID response, but taking a step back, the AC's role is also to make sure that we're collecting data from a more of a historical point of view. We have our EVES study, that's the Election Administration and Voting Survey, to take county level data and surface that and really get to the root of how are elections being run across the country. And that's the data that you often hear referenced in news stories or other research projects. So we take that role very seriously to make sure that on a regular basis, we're conducting this study, as it's stated in HAVA, Help America Vote Act, so that we can notice the trends that are going along in election administration. I always think it's funny when people talk about their election traditions and trying to keep things the same. But if we look back, election administration has been vibrant and innovative for decades now. Elections are almost nothing like they were even just a few years ago. If you're talking about the arc of going from primarily paper-based ballots to then shifting over to DREs and BMDs, and then back to having the paper audit trail. So there's been constant change. Voters can now register online through a number of different portals. And now we're starting to see ballot tracking. So if someone actually mails in their ballot, in some jurisdictions, they'll be able to track the progress to make sure that it's received and that it's being counted or adjudicated. So I think that with all of these new technologies that are coming into play, it's important that election officials have some place where they can go, some place where they can trust the people and the information they're getting so that they can learn these best practices and put them into use. Because one thing I've heard consistently is that we're never taking anything off of the plates of election officials. They seem to be getting more work all the time, but nothing is really coming off of their plate.